Welcome to the Michigan Football Report Rumors Roundup Quick Hitter Edition. We've got a bunch of rumors to get through. Let's get it going. Jim Harbaugh was super torn up over Michigan's 8-5 season. 3 Harbaugh heads on that one. It is pretty likely that went place. Greg Roman coming to Michigan. Nope, he's staying with the Baltimore Ravens. 4 Harbaugh heads. Number 3, Pep Hamilton is an NFL job offer. FACK, 4 Harbaugh heads. What is this Harbaugh heads rumor meter, guys? 0 Harbaugh's fake news. 1 Harbaugh had a small shred of truth. 2, people are talking. 3 is pretty likely. And 4, FACK, fact. I am James Yoder, your Michigan Football Insider, the Michigan Football Insider with your Michigan Football Rumors Roundup. Let's keep it rolling. Tim Drevno has a new job title. Associate Head Coach and Offensive Line Coach is what I am hearing. 3 Harbaugh heads. On to number 5. Is Dan Enos the new wide receiver coach? Yep, you got it. 4 Harbaugh heads. FACK. Number 6. Enos and Mark D'Antonio have beef, mad beef. 3 Harbaugh heads, pretty likely. New names are emerging as offensive coordinator, including a couple scandalous candidates at Louisville and Kendall Briles. Another name to keep in mind is the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State and the OC at Oklahoma. Number 8, former Michigan player Kurt Anderson to join the staff. Not happening. 1 Harbaugh head. Number 9, is Al Washington joining as the running backs coach? The linebackers coach? I don't know, to tell you the truth. I've heard it from both sides. 2 Harbaugh heads. People are talking. Chris Partridge, was he heading to Alabama as co-defensive coordinator? Small shred of truth. Wasn't going to happen initially. Michigan's matched the offer. On to number 11. Partridge is staying at Michigan. I've got this as 3 Harbaugh heads. Pretty likely he's going to stay at the University of Michigan. Has Devin Bush Sr. been promoted? Defensive specialist. Now he's going to be the special teams coach in 2018. He got that 3 Harbaugh heads. Pretty likely he's going to be the official coach. Do we have a new strength and conditioning coach? We do. Herbert from Arkansas is your new strength and conditioning coach. Been confirmed. FACK fact. 4 Harbaugh heads. And then is Michigan asking players to grad transfer in on Twitter? Yep, they sure are. Tweeting out, letting players know they can email the University of Michigan if they want to grad transfer in for the 2018 season. I am James Yoder, your Michigan Football Insider with the Michigan Football Rumors Roundup.
Man crates. Awesome gifts for men in real wooden crates, wrapped in a cocoon of duct tape, or housed in ammo cans that are virtually indestructible. Some gifts he'll get to assemble himself. Some gifts you'll beg him to share. And some gifts are sealed inside layers of rock-solid concrete. Gifts guys love, from grilling gear to old-school video games and more. Man crates. Awesome gifts for men.
Hello, Michigan football fans. Welcome into the Michigan Football Report. I'm your host, Lena, and this is the Michigan Football Insider, James Yoder. He just did a little rapid-fire rumors for you. If you're wondering, oh my gosh, what are all of those about? I want to know more. Don't you worry. We will do the full Rumors Roundup segment here in a little bit. James, are you excited for our show?
Yes, I want to make one point. I paused and kind of confused myself a little bit in there. The Greg Roman one, I put 1 Harbaugh head. That was a mistake on my end. That's actually 4 Harbaugh heads. He is staying with the Ravens. So anybody who watched that want to call me fake news, that was a mistake on my end. 1 Harbaugh head I put, but it is 4 FACK. Greg Roman will not be the offensive coordinator at Michigan. He's going to stick with the Ravens.
All right, before we get into our Rumors Roundup, let's go ahead and take a look at 2018. Obviously, the Wolverines 2017 season is unfortunately over, but there are going to be some great games, some great matchups in the beginning of the season next year. And James, we open up the season at Notre Dame.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game, Lena. I'm not sure it's one that I would have scheduled if I was Jim Harbaugh, but it's looking like it might be a little easier to win. So Notre Dame starting running back, their top wide receiver, who might be a first round himself, both going to the pros, announcing today is going to devastate Notre Dame's offense, make it much more likely for Michigan to get a win on the road at night in South Bend on September 1st. We'll be likely starting a new quarterback. Brandon Peters maybe, but I think it's much more likely it's Shea Patterson. And what we saw to Brandon Peters, I don't think that he would beat out even Dylan McCaffrey at this point.
All right. Also worthy noting, Notre Dame just lost their defensive coordinator. He went to go coach under Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. So maybe something to think about looking to play the Fighting Irish. Let's move on to these next slate of games here, James. October 6th, we play Maryland at the Big House. Also some other big Big Ten matchups in this slate of games. What stands out to you?
So on this one, this is the gauntlet. This is if Michigan can win these there's 4 games here. If they can win those 3 big ones, I mean, they're going into November, kind of the schedule with a chance for bigger things, a national championship potentially, a Big Ten championship ideally before that. But with that being said, Wisconsin, Michigan State, back-to-back, then a bye week, then Penn State. Now, 2 of those games are at home. I'm guessing that Michigan State game will ultimately be a night game, probably be a night game either on Big Ten Network or on Fox, because Fox gets to flex those games now. And with that being said, this is the toughest gauntlet out of a 4-week stretch I've seen. And these are, Lena, these are probably all going to be top 12 teams next season.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough schedule for our Wolverines. We're going to go ahead and take it to the next slate of games now, how we're going to round out our season. So at Rutgers versus Indiana at home, and then, of course, at Ohio State before the Big Ten championship game come December 1st. What do you think about this stretch ending up the season?
Yeah, I mean, so if Michigan can somehow get through those first 9 games, Lena, and get into the November 10th matchup on the road in New Jersey against Rutgers, where they won 78-0 2 years ago, the last time they traveled to that state, I think that they would be in really good place. Now, the October slate is just slamming. It is amazingly hard. So they're going to be beat up. They're going to be bruised. You're going to know a lot about this team. If they get that win against Notre Dame, who, again, lost their offensive coordinator, losing their star receiver, losing their All-American caliber running back, I think that becomes more of a win. And now, that game, just to think about it for a second, Michigan opened yesterday. A lot of Vegas casinos released some odds for next year for early season games. Michigan was a 2.5-point favorite to Notre Dame. I would guess they'd be about even now that they've lost their best 2 offensive players to the pros as early entry. So they get to this November 10th game undefeated, Lena. We could be looking at a big season. I think a lot of it's going to be around, is Shea Patterson the quarterback? Is he fitting into a system that works for his skill set? And does Michigan get the right offensive coordinator they're going to need to get an offense that he will shine in? That's what it's going to come down to. If Jim Harbaugh loses this game at Ohio State, replacing a 4-year starting quarterback in JT Barrett, he would be 0-4 against the Buckeyes. I know we said he probably could have won 2 of those games. That would be as bad of a start as we've ever seen. The only other guy who started 0-3 is Rich Rodriguez. All
right, so that is your 2018 Michigan Wolverine football schedule. Also along the lines of 2018, little transition here. There's already some way too early rankings going on in the sports world right now. So here's a little segment where they ranking us, James. So Athlon Sports has us at number 7. And then after that, we have,
Sporting News.
Thank you. They're having us at number 17. So 7 top 10. I like that ranking. 17 a little low. But before we talk about all of these rankings, James, Fox Sports does have us at number 3, Joel Klatt, that is. So let's go ahead and toss it and see what he has to say about our Wolverines.
Now let's get into the top 3. Michigan. For all you people that said Jim Harbaugh can't do anything, I think next year is a big year for him. Obviously, he needs to start winning some of those big games, namely here, and I understand that. But that was an incredible performance from a team that lost maybe more than anybody else to the NFL. They had 1 starter back on defense, still played incredible defense. I think depending on what happens, obviously, with their quarterback transfer and then Brandon Peters, I actually think Brandon Peters is a really good player. If he doesn't go down against Wisconsin, that's a different game. If he plays against Ohio State, that's a different game. If he plays from the beginning of the season, I think the Michigan State game is a different game. They are some solid quarterback play away from being 11-1 this year. True story, right? I mean, that's a good physical football team. You should hear the coaches who have to play them talk about what they do, whether it's schematically and or with their personnel. So I like Michigan. Their D is going to be terrific, and I think Peters to Peoples-Jones is going to be a great combination.
All right, James, that was Joel Klatt putting us at number 3 in his way too early ranking. So we have 7, we have 17, we have 3. What do you feel like is the most accurate?
Frankly, before the bowl game, Lena, I would have said Athlon Sports had the most accurate ranking. I don't think that's fair anymore, frankly. I think number 17 is where Chat Sports would have Michigan right now.
Yeah.
If we put out a poll today, we put out our top 10 earlier in the week, that show that you and I were involved in. Then we put out 5 more teams, and Michigan wasn't in that top 15 at all. Those next 5 not really ranked, but just who was under consideration. Michigan was not under consideration from any of our college football experts. So when we put out that poll Monday night after the national championship game, I think we're going to come in about 16, 17, 18. I think Joel Klatt he got that ranking in before Brandon Peters' bowl game, before a 19-3 collapse. And Athlon came out with number 7 afterwards. Michigan's defense is going to be potentially all-time. Chase Winniman's returning, potentially 5 All-Americans. We talked about this before with all these guys returning. But nevertheless, no offense, very poor creativity, and blown leads in 3 straight games. They don't deserve to be in the top 10 at this point.
All right, I'm Lena Bond. You can follow me on Twitter at Lena Bond Sports. This is your Michigan football insider, James T. Yoder. Follow him on Twitter as well. We're here at the Coach's Corner in Ann Arbor having a little fun with our headsets, feeling like professionals right now because we are, James.
Yeah, well, I think these new headsets, a new look for me. And I'll tell you what, producer in my ear, we've got some rumors coming up,
yes,
it sounds
we
like,
do.
next. So since we're going to get into these bad boys, Lena, take it away with the rumors.
All right, so our first rumor we talked about a little bit earlier, James Harbaugh, he is torn up. He stayed up all night on Tuesday after that loss to South Carolina. What can you tell me about this one?
Yeah, so the Michigan team flew back on Tuesday to Ann Arbor. He went into the office. He struggled all day with, just the fact that they lost 3 straight games. They blew such a lead that I think Michigan expected, hey, we're going to crush this team. They're not very good. And it sounds like with all the stuff we're going to talk about next, there was a lot of distractions around this Michigan football team with, coaches looking for other jobs. We've already seen Greg Fry take a job. We've already seen Brian Smith, the safeties coach, take another job. And multiple guys might be fired coming up. So with that, him and John Falk, Michigan's longtime equipment guy, who now is kind of like an assistant to the head coach coming out of retirement to work with Harbaugh, stayed up all night till the break of dawn, kind of laying out how they can fix this program. And hopefully he's got some renewed energy and renewed enthusiasm, because I didn't see the same Jim Harbaugh this year as I've seen in the past 2.
All right, before we get to the rest of our rumors, let's go ahead and do a little explainer for the folks at home to make sure they know what all these Harbaugh heads mean. So 0 Harbaugh heads means totally false. Fake news! 1 Harbaugh head is small shred of truth. People are talking is 2 Harbaugh heads. 3 Harbaugh heads mean it's pretty likely we expect this to be the truth. And 4 Harbaugh heads is F-A-C-K, fact. Jim Harbaugh spells fact like that, so do we here at Chat Sports.
Jim Harbaugh spells it F-A-C-K. That's how we do it.
All right, so that is your rumor-o-meter explainer. Let's now go ahead and get to our next rumor now, and this is going to be the one about Greg Roman. Now, we mentioned that it is 4 Harbaugh heads. I don't, little graphical error right now with 1 Harbaugh heads, but this is a F-A-C-K fact, James.
Yeah, so we're going to get this changed, folks. It's going to be all good, but Greg Roman will not be with Michigan, so we should toss that emoji on the screen. Sound on right now. If no one, people listen to the sound off. Greg Roman is going to stay with the Ravens. Those other 3 Harbaugh heads are eliminated at some point, it looks like. So let's move on from this one. Greg Roman will not be part of the Michigan staff next year. He will not be a coordinator. All right, let's take it to rumor number 3. Pep Hamilton, Lena, has an NFL job offer. I am calling this one F-A-C-K fact, Lena, because it sounds like he has 1, if not 2, not sounds like, we know he has at least 1 job offer to return to the NFL as a quarterbacks coach, and his agent is out there shopping him to a couple teams who showed interest in the past few years as an offensive coordinator, thinking he can get an offensive coordinator job, though. But if he does not have an offensive coordinator job offer by Monday, he will accept this offer to be a quarterbacks coach, and he will no longer be a part of the Michigan staff come the 9th of January when the 10th coaching position is opened up by the NCAA, and it kind of starts as floodgates of new coaches moving all over the place around the country.
All right, next rumor we have for you guys. Does Drevno have a new job title, James? We're giving this 3 Harbaugh heads. What can you tell me?
Yeah, so Tim Drevno, it's pretty likely at this point that Tim Drevno is going to be not the Michigan offensive coordinator anymore. I don't know who that guy is on screen there. That is not Tim Drevno. That is Dan Enos, but we'll get to it. Tim Drevno is going to have a new job title. He will not be the offensive coordinator. It seems pretty likely at this point. Tim Drevno will be the associate head coach, Lena, and the fully offensive line coach. Now the offensive line coach, Greg Fry, has moved on to Florida State.
All right, up next, we have a new one. Says we have a little beef. Oh, excuse me. Do we have Dan Enos? Is he coming in as our wide receivers coach?
Yeah, so Dan Enos is going to be announced as Michigan's football coach as early as Monday, possibly.
Okay.
And he's going to come in at the wide receiver coach. They are not going to announce a position, Lena, is what I've been told. And the reason for that is Jim Harbaugh is still out there looking for a potential offensive coordinator. So Enos is kind of coming in knowing that worst case he's going to get a wide receiver coaching job, and then they'll add the vanity passing game coordinator on it. And Harbaugh said, hey, if I don't get one of these other guys, we'll make you the offensive coordinator or co-offensive coordinator with somebody else, potentially, the real guy, the guy who makes the play calls. But he knows he's coming in at worst the wide receiver coach / passing game coordinator, but there is still a chance he could be the main guy if Harbaugh strikes out on some of these bigger name candidates we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes.
All right, 4 Harbaugh heads for that one. Up next, is there some beef between Enos and Dan Antonio?
There is beef like you couldn't believe, and so people were questioning this one all week, especially when we broke this story last week that this was becoming pretty likely. We talked about it on Wednesday that it was an FACK that he was coming, and now we know his position coach is going to be wide receiver. And so with that, why would he come? He's a Michigan State grad. He spent a lot of time on their staff under D'Antonio, quarterbacks coach. He went to Central Michigan. Sounds like there was plenty of beef with D'Antonio coming in last minute and stealing some Central Michigan players, some of their higher rated guys when Enos was the head coach there. And there was a little bit like, hey, I thought we were cool, we were friends, we worked together, et cetera, et cetera. Why are you stealing my guys? A little gentleman's honor was not being had between these guys. So apparently he doesn't like him because there was thoughts that he might return to Michigan State on their staff. Wasn't happening. Now he's coming in to Michigan. I'll tell you what the biggest thing about this is: great recruiter in the state of Michigan, one of Michigan State's best guys there, 2007, 2008, 2009, and now he's in Ann Arbor.
All right, up next, we have some new names emerging for that offensive coordinator position, James. So we're going to go ahead and take it to a full-screen graphic now. We have all of these names for you. So first, we have Cale Gundy, the co-offensive coordinator over there at Oklahoma. What you can tell me about him? Well,
so Cale Gundy is a interesting candidate. He is basically him and another guy we're going to talk about here at Oklahoma State are two. I'm just going to talk through him here, Lena. So Cale Gundy and Mike Urich are basically the Don Browns of this year's kind of coaching candidate. And what that means is that they are leading the best offenses in college football right now at Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Those two offenses led the entire country in yards and production and points, all this stuff. And Gundy is the interesting one. So his older brother, who is his older brother? Well, it's Mike Gundy, who is Mike Urich's boss. And with that, those two guys are going to get a look just because of the powerful offenses we've seen out of the Pac, or those two teams in the Big 12 over the past couple of years. So Cale Gundy, what is holding him back from being considered, from what I've been told, is that I don't think Harbaugh doesn't believe that he is really making all the offensive calls. It's large game Lincoln Riley, who is really the offensive coordinator / head coach. So Gundy's more like a glorified wide receivers and quarterbacks coach. Now, Mike Urich has full control there. He has been with them for 4 years. A really interesting story. He was coaching at Shippensburg State in the middle of Pennsylvania, making $50,000 a year. Got a phone call, met Mike Gundy, Cale's older brother, at a restaurant there in rural PA. Got the job, got the offer, went to $400K overnight salary. So that is the one I think would be the home run, is Mike Urich. He has really turned Oklahoma State into one of the more exciting offenses we've ever seen in college football.
It was prolific this year. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. All right, so the other one's Lonnie Galloway. So Lonnie Galloway is an interesting because he is, these next two guys, Galloway and Kendall Briles, they're considering. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh has talked to these guys or he even will talk to these guys, but he is considering that that Lonnie Galloway and Kendall Briles will get interviews with Michigan. I think Michigan could get both of them because of the schools and the salaries that they are making, but as of right now, we don't know if they've been talked to. So Lonnie Galloway, he is the man at the end of the scandal called WikiLeaks. Now, what is WikiLeaks? If you recall, a couple years ago, he got suspended by the school because someone from the Wake Forest program leaked their playbook to him at Louisville, and they used it, and then it got tracked through a Freedom of Information Act request that he received this via email, so he got suspended. So a little scandal behind him. Kendall Briles is an interesting one. He's a young guy. He's not even 35 yet. He was phenomenal at Baylor as an offensive coordinator. Then he went to FAU under Lane Kiffin and really completely changed. when he was at Baylor, they were a pass-heavy team.
Right.
Air raid, right? He goes to FAU, and they're in top 5 in the nation this year in rushing, Lena.
Wow.
Top 5 offense, top 5 rushing. You won't find him in the top 30 or 40 for passing because they instituted a amazing rushing attack out of the shotgun. And Kendall Briles, if not for the fact that his Wikipedia page literally says, and I don't want to mince words here,
so
it
bad.
literally says that he encouraged rape amongst his players and asked African-American players if they like white girls because Baylor has a lot of them. I don't know how Jim Harbaugh can make that hire and look in the mirror and you don't want to touch that Baylor program. But on the other side, never charged the crime, never actually sued for anything and lost the case. So it could just be hearsay, right? And so you've got to give the guy some level of credit. But what happened at Baylor? He is a very toxic candidate. His dad is amazingly toxic. And Art Briles, the former Baylor head coach, went to FAU, completely turned that program around. Lane Kiffin, a guy Jim Harbaugh has known for many a years, has apparently given him the this is a good guy, don't worry about the stuff you've read, and has actually put him out there for this job. He wants to promote guys. Lane Kiffin wants to make sure he is getting his guys to better jobs. And the last one I want to talk about, Brian Wright, offensive coordinator at Toledo, knows the area, knows the MAC, which is kind of in that Big Ten. They have the same exact footprint. He would kind of be the backup candidate if he swung and missed. I think the guy at the top and the guy at the bottom are kind of like fallbacks if Michigan doesn't get one. And Urich is the target. Lonnie Galloway, Kendall Briles, they'd have to do a lot of investigation. Are these guys, is the juice worth the squeeze? But these are the 5 names that have emerged over the last 48 hours I want to talk about. If it's me, Mike Urich runs a completely different system than Jim Harbaugh, but Michigan's offense has grown stale, and with Shea Patterson, Dylan McCaffrey as the likely next quarterbacks, Lena, these are the guys that he needs to go after to modernize this offense.
All right, let's continue up with our rumors roundup, Michigan Wolverine style. Up next, Kurt Anderson. Now, is he going to join our offensive staff? You're giving this one Harbaugh head, but I want to know, why is this not fake news?
Because he's a Michigan guy, his family is well known in the Michigan community, and he's known Jim Harbaugh and his family for a long time. So I think there is a small shred of truth that Jim Harbaugh talked to him, and also Dan Enos was his boss just last year at Arkansas, coming on to staff. So I think he was considered, and he's a Michigan guy, but you can do a lot better than Kurt Anderson. They were the 97th rated offense, terrible rushing attack this year at Arkansas. I don't think he would even get a look if his last name wasn't Anderson and he didn't play for Michigan. So I think this one is a small shred of truth. Harbaugh might even take on a conversation with him, but he is not getting a job at Michigan from what I can tell you. Now, things could always change, but as right now, Kurt Anderson is not a candidate to be a part of the staff.
All right, up next rumor, Al Washington. Now, is he set to be a linebacking coach or a running backs coach with the Michigan Wolverines? We're giving this 2 Harbaugh heads.
Yeah, so this is just people are talking. I don't know what to make of this. I was for sure that when we're going to talk about another rumor coming up here about another coach, when a certain Michigan coach was being rumored to leave the program as a defensive coordinator, a co-defensive coordinator elsewhere, it sounded like Al Washington was going to come in to replace him as linebackers coach. And then we heard that Jay Harbaugh, Jim's son, was going to move from running backs coach to tight ends / special teams. And so now I'm hearing both things from people I respect, that, he's going to replace Partridge as linebacker coach. No, he's going to replace Jay Harbaugh, running backs coach. I know he's going to be on the staff, so we can give he's going to be on the staff before Harbaugh. We did that on Wednesday.
Yes, we did.
But as of right now, people are talking. I don't know what to believe right now. He'll be a position coach. Not sure if it's linebackers or running backs, which is kind of weird. You don't want a guy who's kind of good at 2 things. You want the best guy at one or the other. So I'm not sure what to make of this one.
All right, we'll keep you guys updated on Al Washington. Up next, Chris Partridge. Is he going to Bama to be their defensive coordinator, James?
All right, so this is a very fluid situation. Like earlier in the week, I was hearing like it was likely he was gone.
Right.
He couldn't turn down what he's being offered. Making $300,000-$400,000 in Michigan is going to get a much higher offer that for Alabama. Like they're not going to pay that much for a linebackers coach. What's going on here?
Right.
And so we all know their linebackers coach or their defensive coordinator took the job at Tennessee, and they have an opening now. Right? He's sticking around for the bowl game, which is funny enough. So. Could Chris Partridge, 3 years removed from being a high school head coach, be Alabama's defensive coordinator? Maybe. It sounds like it was going to be one of these things. You will be linebackers coach with a vanity title of co-offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Maybe if we strike out on a few guys, but we'll give you a higher salary than Michigan. And the guy we'd also bring in, our top candidate for D coordinator, he is a candidate to take a job somewhere else. We want to groom him for a 2 or 3 year stretch, get him a big job like at Tennessee, like they just did, or like Kirby Smart going to Georgia. And if that happened, you'll be our new defensive coordinator. Of course, what Jim Harbaugh going into? Hey, what are they offering? 600, 700. We're going to match that, and I'll make you the same offer. if Don Brown retires, you're my defensive coordinator. So that was floated out there.
Yep.
It was talked about that he could be a kind of a DC in waiting at Alabama, but it sounds like Jim Harbaugh matched the offer, and he's going to be at Michigan for the foreseeable future.
All right, there you go. Exactly 3 Harbaugh heads in that one. Partridge 2 remain at Michigan. We're feeling good about this one.
Yeah, feeling good. It is pretty likely Chris Partridge will remain in Ann Arbor.
All right, up next, Devin Bush Sr. Now, has he been promoted, the special teams coach? We're giving us 3 Harbaugh heads. What can you tell me?
Well, Devin Bush Sr. looks a heck of a lot like Devin Bush
Yes,
Jr. just
he
20 years
does.
later. It's
It's
amazing,
amazing.
the resemblance in these guys. I literally
Genetics.
thought, and he's got the same hair too. I thought when I saw his picture, I'm like, man, Devin Bush Jr. is pretty old.
Same.
But but so 2 years ago, he was a high school football coach. In the last 2 seasons, he came up with his son as a defensive specialist. Basically,
Right.
he kind of means he's a coach. Chris Partridge started that same role 2 years ago when he came over as a high school coach. And it's something that Jim Harbaugh uniquely has done, created these specialist positions or these analyst positions, promoted guys to coaches. So it looks like Devin Bush Sr. is going to be Michigan's special teams coach. There is a potential he could pipe in and also get like a safeties coach plus special teams. I doubt he'll get the full
Interesting.
secondary, but it's going to really see how some shakes out with some of these other coaches. It all, Lena, remains, it's based around one thing. It is based around, do they get that all-star A-plus offensive coordinator, and then the chips will fall where they may around some of these other positions.
All right, second to last rumor we have for you guys. Ben Herbert, is he our new strength and conditioning coach? We're giving this one 4 Harbaugh heads, James.
Yeah, this is FACK because Michigan officially announced it, right? So we were one of the first ones to break this story about 2 weeks ago on the Michigan Football Report that Michigan had interviewed him, that he had come up, he expressed interest. Now, he got let go from Arkansas
Right.
with Brett Bielema. He was Brett Bielema's offensive coordinator, or sorry, strength coach at Wisconsin for almost a decade, then for 4 or 5 seasons at Arkansas. And all you can say about that is Arkansas had a bad last season or two with Bielema and with this guy as Herbert as their strength coach. But they had some great seasons, including multiple Big Ten championships and the strongest offensive and defensive lines in America when he was at Wisconsin. So I think he impressed Jim Harbaugh in the interview process. I think he brought together a conditioning program that Jim Harbaugh liked, and I think Michigan's going to instantly see some gains in that strength and conditioning department that they prior to what they had before they fired the last guy.
All right, 4 Harbaugh heads for that one. Another 4 Harbaugh heads getting thrown at this one, James. Michigan is asking for players to grad transfer in on Twitter.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? So we've got Michigan putting out tweets that if any student is looking to pursue your graduate studies at the University of Michigan as a football player, to send an email to a Gmail. This almost seems like they were hacked, right? So it's pretty weird that this is happening. But I guess this is FACK because this is from the official Twitter account. It was tweeted out last week, and I was kind of wondering, is this like something they're going to take down? This is just strange, to say the least. But Michigan needs offensive linemen, that's for sure. That's really the only position of weakness if Shea Patterson gets that eligibility. So this is what they're doing. I don't really necessarily like the optics of it. I think there's better ways to go about it. I think they can call coaches, around the country. You might have players who are interested in transferring, whatever it is. But I don't like the look of this, but it is a fact, that's for sure.
FACK fact, and that was your last Michigan Wolverines rumor roundup. We will continue on with this segment the entire offseason. We have a lot of fun with it, and it is your Michigan football insider, James Yoder. He knows all about him.
Yeah.
But that is just about all the time we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Michigan Football Report, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome to the